So hello everybody, welcome to episode 5 of the BravoPB wheel. So here we go, here is my game show host voice. Spin the BravoPB wheel! Oh, spin the BravoPB wheel! Eggplant though. Alright, one last time. Spin the BravoPB wheel! Okay.
Wow.
Gotta get creative. I can always play with that. It's just the balsamic that's throwing me off right now. So it's nice that I have the corn in here because the corn gives me a starch, which is going to give whatever the heck I come up with substance. So that's good. Eggplant's always nice to have. It's a nice vegetable to eat, and on top of that, this is the Japanese type eggplant, which has this amazing feature that that big globe eggplant doesn't have, which is the skin can be eaten and there's no bitterness to it. So that's really cool. The shiitakes are calling me, just because they go really well with the corn and eggplant. In here, I have some allspice, ground allspice. We'll get some chard in there. Okay, so one of the big reasons why I do these is because it forces me to like talk out loud, think out loud, and explain to you guys the thought process of like, hey, you know, this is what we have in the house. You got to come up with something. So I know that mushrooms and corn will go really well together. So that's gonna sort of flow nicely. The Swiss chard here, it's going to give me a saltiness to the dish, and it's also providing some color. So I got some nice green in with this sort of yellow, whitish, earthy colors. We'll use some onions and garlic like always. I want to put in some blackberries. I have chipotle peppers. All right, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start by making the quote unquote glaze, this whole balsamic thing. Blackberries to the pot. Balsamic. Turn this bad boy on. So we'll call this a spicy balsamic, or well, spicy blackberry balsamic something. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and take my chipotle pepper, split it in half. Take that leaf out. I am gonna add a little bit of vegetable broth to this. So I'm gonna take my eggplants, cut them, take the tips off. Go. I'm gonna split them longwise. And what I'm going to do is, I'm gonna take the tip of the knife, and I'm gonna go in about 1/8 of an inch for all of these. Slice my shiitakes here. Shiitakes are ready to go. Over here, take the chard and go ahead and split it. Okay. I don't know if you guys can smell that balsamic already. It's coming out nicely. And then I go ahead and split it. And what I'm going to do is, I'm going to grab it in my hand, take my knife, put it backwards, grab it by the handle, and then just. So here's an easy way to seed a pomegranate if you ever wondered. I only need a few. So I'll set this off to the side. Quick taste. See sort of how my liquid here is doing. So the chipotle hasn't had the time to release the heat. It's still very vinegary, so it's got a while. It's got a while to go. The question is, do I like dry chipotles better than canned? They're just easier to control because a lot of times with canned chipotles, you don't know what else is in there. There's other spices. Most of the time they have salt and oil in there. So a nice dry chipotle, you know, it's sort of just a nice spicy item, which I can then add whatever I want instead of what's in there already. I'm going to now make a mess. Here, we'll kind of laying down so I can shave the kernels off and have them not go all over the place. Now, believe it or not, once you shave off kernels from a cob, there's still a lot of starch in here. So I figure, well, I'm gonna need this to be nice and thick, so might as well. With the back of the knife, I'm scraping the starch into the pot. And the flavors are so strong that you won't be able to detect any corn flavor, so I'm just using the starch for its thickening purposes. All right, so I can see now my sauce is thickening up. It doesn't have much longer to cook. Yeah, go ahead.
Was the corn raw?
The corn was raw, yes. And we'll stop this guy for now. So here's what I'm looking like. I got this nice it's sort of like macerated blackberries. Okay. All right, so now my goal here is to get this nice and hot so I can start cooking the eggplant. If I push it down, I can hear that it's starting to cook. All right. Okay, I can see the eggplant is steaming up. I can see it also starting to cook from the bottom up. So I'm gonna give it a quick check just to make sure it's doing well. Okay, so it's browning nicely, beautiful. Okay.
Nothing else in here.
Nothing, just dried. Again, I love Japanese eggplant because you know you can cook the skin and it's just perfectly fine. Whereas the globe eggplants, you always have to peel it. Otherwise, you end up with this beautiful dish and then you taste it, it's just bitter. Bitter. Come on. Okay. It's hard for you guys to see there, but I can see the eggplant itself is bubbling up a little bit, which means that it's really just heating all the way through. I can see these tiny little bubbles in the eggplant. I'm going to go ahead and add some garlic, shallots, so those start going. These two are ready, so I'm going to set these off to the side here for a second. I think all of them are. Just we'll get them all off. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and add my shiitakes here to the pan. There was this one little piece from the eggplant that is sort of burning a little. Okay. So that's going now. So this will be a nice sort of hash at the bottom. It'll have a nice combination of sweetness here from the corn, saltiness from the chard, nice umami flavor there from the mushrooms. Okay, it'll have a nice seasoning to it, the allspice, a good depth of flavor with the onions and garlic. Okay, and as long as I make sure that it's cooked all the way through, everything should be nice. Okay. And then we'll do the eggplant on top, and then the sauce and the garnish. I'll have this sort of vibrant red colors with this deep burgundies, with the yellows and the greens. So color-wise, it'll be nice. It'll be visually appealing. Texture-wise, I'll have something that is very soft here in the eggplant. Something that'll end up being a little chewy-ish here with the mushrooms. The pomegranates are going to provide some crunch on top of the dish. Okay, so a lot of contrasting flavor profiles, a lot of contrasting colors, and enough contrasting textures. That usually gives you a winning dish. All right, so my corn go in, and the Swiss chard goes in. I'm gonna wait to cook out some of the water in here so that my pan will be nice and hot. That's when I'm going to add the allspice, so that in a nice hot, relatively dry pan, it'll have a chance to toast up in there, okay? Which does increase the flavor of it. Although the name is spelled A-L-L as in allspice, and you might think there's a combination of it. It's just the one single thing, the allspice berries. There's sort of like a peppercorn kind of a thing, a little bit larger, more brown, less black. No. Oh, glad I mentioned it. Okay, I am gonna go ahead and add, probably by. So the smell should change here quite a bit in just a second.
Oh yeah, it did.
Can you guys smell the difference?
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay, I want to give it a quick taste. That's nice. Now I can finally see how that flavor is going to go together with the other stuff. Okay. One thing I don't want is for this to dry out too much. So I'm going to add a little bit of vegetable broth. Going to go ahead and turn it off. Nice, very nice. This here by itself would be a really nice sort of side dish at the table, or with steamed potatoes, or next to a bowl of rice, or some buckwheat maybe, so that right there is really nice together. So we'll go ahead and start serving here. So I got my nice there. I'm going to use that residual heat in here to put my eggplants back on there. Just because I always like to make sure that food is hot when it's being served. Okay. In the meantime, I come back to the compote here so you can see how it's dried up quite a bit.
So you don't worry about the seeds and the blackberries?
Yes, I do.
Wow.
Yes, I do. Okay, now I'm going to take a spoon. Okay, another spoon here. Go. So if I stack these, it gives me a few more angles. Okay, and then final touch here, just to make it all nice and pretty. I can always do a very faint dusting the plate, so if I go high, it gives me a sort of even coat on there. There we go.
What did you dust?
A little bit more allspice.
Wow, bravo.
Crazy, but here it is. All right, so there you go. Episode 5 of the BravoPB wheel. So, any questions?
If you don't like pomegranate seeds, could you do maybe like pine nuts or something? Or?
You could do some pine nuts. Actually, pine nuts would be really good. It'd give you that crunch, and it would be different. What would happen is you wouldn't have that sweet tart, bright red there, but you would have this very nutty, wonderful sort of richness to it. And there is enough of the red burgundy there with the sauce that you wouldn't be like, oh man, I wish there was some red in here. So I gotta be honest with you, this has so far been my favorite dish that I've come up with. Even though the chipotle did not really come through, so I'm not getting enough spiciness out of it. But the combination of the saltiness of the chard and the earthy, the umami, the mushrooms, and the sweet, and just everything, and the balsamic, the sourness from the balsamic. It's hard to describe, like all the components coming together, but they come in layers. Like I get this earthiness together with the sour, so the mushrooms and the vinegar sort of interact. And then it's the corn and the eggplant, which I already know that go really well together. And then it's the salty and the berry sort of flavor all together. And then it's just like one combination after another combination after another combination. It is just, so far, this has been my favorite. So this one's definitely gonna make its way to the menu here somehow, because it's just that delicious. I hope you guys are enjoying this. I am. This came out really good. So it's giving me just as many ideas as I think it's giving you guys. So I hope you enjoy this. Please hit the subscribe button. Tell all your friends about it. Bravo Plant-Based Channel and BravoPB.com. Oh, thank you.